All right. All right. All right. Hey, Ian, how's it going?
How are you? Good. How are
Good.
you?
Good, 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 good. Are you able to hear me just fine?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah, I hear you just fine. Just fine. All right. We got some people coming into the room right now. You excited for your live training like this?
Yeah, that's awesome. I've just had tons of questions about divergence over the last little while, just even from watching the YouTube videos of people commenting, and just from my own, because I don't use divergence that often. So um, I got tons of questions that I like to go over in this little
Yeah,
training
perfect.
session.
Perfect, perfect. All right, so let's give it a little bit till these guys get in. We got 1,000+ people already in the room. I think I don't know. Maybe it's you. Since you got into this room, the room is exploding.
I don't know. I thought I might maybe scare people away if I get on here.
All right, all right. So we got 1,030 something people in here right now. We're gonna get started. Welcome, guys, to this special edition of Urban Forex webinars. What we're doing right now is Ian is a colleague of mine. We've hired him not too long ago to join us at Urban Forex, and since he's been here, we've been training him on various different topics. But we figured instead of training him on various different topics privately, why don't we just do it live? He's a very curious person. He's always asked me questions and dug my brain out to even answer your questions in the emails or YouTube comments that you guys are mentioning. So this is going to be a very nice thing. So all of you guys who are in here, all of your chats that you're putting in, me and Ian can see them, but you guys won't be able to see it with each other. So that way you can just speak your mind very comfortably and participate as we go along. So today's topic is on divergence. Divergence. Now, how come divergence, Ian? Why? I saw you reached out to me saying, yeah, you got some questions about divergence, and then I forced you, like, let's get onto this call, and just threw you into the middle of this San Francisco ocean that's behind you. So how
Yeah,
come divergence? What made catch your attention to
oh,
divergence?
like I was saying before, I don't ever use it, but it's one of the most common topics that I see on the internet and
Yeah.
on YouTube, and even questions that students I get once in a while. Like there's tons of questions on divergence, and to be honest, I don't use it, so I'm treat me just like a beginner in all this. Like
Okay.
just from scratch, honestly, I'd love to know just what is divergence.
Yeah.
Do you use any indicators, or what type of indicators do you use for divergence? Is there any trading systems or strategies that you use for divergence, or just everything you can even think of that
So
I would
all of
need if I
divergence.
wanted? Yeah, pretty much everything. Yeah.
Okay.
Actually,
No,
sorry,
you have
I'm
like
sorry to
a.
cut you off,
I'm
but
sorry.
I seen on the chat today. I seen you took a trade uh, today on the chat. A trade that actually performed really well, and I just
From this
noticed in the
morning.
chat too. Yeah, this morning.
Okay.
Yeah, and I saw you type in the chat that you thought there may be some sort of a divergence that occurred in that trade today. So I was kind of hoping maybe you would maybe give me and everyone here kind of a sneak peek into how that trade went
Uh,
about and how the divergence played out.
okay. I believe you're talking about some of these trades from this morning. You're talking about euro pound or the pound Swiss franc?
The euro pound, I believe it was.
Euro pound. Okay. Okay. Yeah, we can go over that. We can cover that. I'm actually still in euro pound right now. I'm going right now. I'm doing a cheese trade with. I'm sure you're familiar with it as an MPA 2.0 student at Urban Forex, and then some of the guys in the room are probably familiar with it. But we will go over this divergence. How I use divergence for today's trades and how it actually shows up. But don't be surprised when I actually tell you, Ian, that I actually don't use divergence, but
Oh,
I
okay.
know where divergence occurs because I actually started my entire career from divergence. That's what I studied, and that's what I began my journey from that route. So
Oh,
it's very interesting that you brought it up, saying that you want to learn about it. I'm like, oh, great, yeah, why not? Why not?
yeah, that sounds great. Yeah, perfect.
Why not? Why not? Okay, so let's start with some of the basics. So I'm guessing you have, some questions written down that you want to ask me and go over, like as you
Yeah,
told me earlier in the chat that you had some questions written down.
yeah, I do for sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
like I guess we can just start with like what is divergence? Like just get the the initial topic done right off the bat. Like, what is it?
Okay. Okay. So let me open up little bit of. Let me open up the chat so I can also see the chat in case there's questions coming in there. Okay. So let's go into. Is that better? Some of you guys were asking. You guys don't see both of us, but now you should be able to see both of us. Okay. All right. All right. Now, a couple of things about divergence. I'm going to actually switch this over to a whiteboard, if you don't mind. We'll come back to my live trades and everything in a little bit. Let me switch it over to the whiteboard. Okay. I'm drawing a circle. Let me know when you see it.
Yep. So
Okay.
looks good.
All right. All right, Ian, I'm going to ask you a question, you and everyone else who's in this room. Have you guys ever had a friend or a relative or a spouse that if you say yes, they say no?
Oh, I know I have anyway. So for sure.
Like, right? Like there's always that one person that like if you say yes, they say no. And if you say no, they say yes. This is what divergence basically is what we're looking for is something opposite. Okay. Because there's a whole bunch of wives and husbands showing up in the chat. But okay. But so what it is price is on one side. Okay, just a quick rundown. I'm going to give you a quick rundown because I noticed you also asked me about a little bit more questions and you even wanted a strategy. So we'll even go into it where I'll just give you a strategy that you can play around with towards the end. Yeah.
Awesome.
So,
that sounds great.
So there's price on one end, as you normally see price moving, right, on a chart, doing certain things. And then below the price, we generally have whatever indicator we've put in there, right? Let's put in there as the indicator. Now, since price is going down, generally your indicator should also be going down, okay? To make it simplistic, I'm not going to go into the vocabulary of things, but if price is going down, the indicator goes down because what does the indicator do? Since the longest time you've known me, what do I always say about indicators? What do indicators generally do with price?
They lag behind what price is doing.
They lag
Or
behind.
I guess they follow what price is doing. So.
There you go. They follow it, right? So they're following price. So that's their job. But what happens when they don't follow it? Okay, that's what divergence in essence is the ability to find out when what your price is saying does not match with what the indicator is saying. Okay, so imagine yourself as price and imagine indicator, that friend or spouse or relative that just doesn't agree with that. When there's a conflict, what happens next in general relationships when there's a conflict?
Argument of some sort, or
yeah, well, not generally an agreement. Agreement is more like political, right? That's like in real life, we all wish that would happen, but in reality, there's an argument and people start fighting.
Yeah.
And when people start fighting, one person eventually wins.
Yeah.
That's basically what the divergence outcome is. It's an idea of things are gonna turn around. Okay. So what we're doing is we're going to be looking at how divergence gets affected in real life scenarios. Okay, so and then we'll bring into some charts. So now you asked me about certain trades that I did, and I'm going to walk you through the trade that I did, and then I'm going to give you some examples, and then maybe I'll even have you try to see if you can spot some divergences on my chart that I put up. Yeah, okay. So it'll be good practice for you and everyone who's in here to actually see, oh, there's a divergence, or there's a divergence that I didn't notice. Okay, so let's get into that. Let's get into that. Let me share my screen. Okay, here we go. Screen is up. Let me know when you see my euro yen. Sorry, my euro pound.
Yeah, it's up there now. I see
it's up there? Okay, okay. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean this up. Let me move this down. I'll clean it up, and I'll put in a simple indicator here. Yeah. I'll call it
What indicator do you use? I was wondering, that was one of my questions actually. Is there a specific indicator you use?
So to that's a good question about what indicator do you use to trade divergence. It's actually, you can use multiple indicators that you want. If they're momentum based, like the RSI, the relative strength index, or the MACD, or people call it MACD. Okay. So for this example, I'll use the RSI, or here, I'll use the MACD. Okay. I'll use the MACD and I'll put it up here. And to
So
make
there's
things a
no
little
one
bit,
that's better than the other, or it's just, is it kind of a personal preference, or it's just kind of,
no, this is where it becomes confusing, is because many people are trying to look at divergence as a give me a strict strategy and I'll follow that. And I don't know if any of you guys who are in this room has ever had any experience with divergence where you feel that, but it's not always accurate. It almost feels subjective that, is it now the divergence is going to occur, right? You guys agree with that? Okay, yeah. So there's a lot of yeses in the room coming in, right? Like they're having that similar issue. They're like, yeah, I do notice that. So let's take a look at this. Let's take a look at this. To make this one simple, so we're using MACD for this example. Maybe we'll switch it up to RSI later and we'll discuss it a little bit. Okay, so for now, I'll just remove the histogram so it's easier to see. Is that visible, Ian?
yeah, I can see that.
Yeah,
Looks good.
okay. I'll zoom in a bit more. Okay, I'll zoom in a bit more, and let's first talk about the first trade that I did for today, which is right there. I don't know if you see my mouse, but let me get the annotation out. Right there. Yeah, you see that area? So that's a buy I did initially there. It stopped me out, but then I bought it again, and then it went forward and then removed some money, removed some money, removed some money, removed some money, et cetera, et cetera. And now it's turning into a cheese. Okay, so far so good?
Yeah, so okay, so those triangles on there, they're not like some sort of fancy indicator that you use, or?
No, it's not a signal service or anything. It's me getting
Okay.
in, getting out.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's good you asked that question. Maybe that will confuse some people. Yeah, it's not a buy now, sell now kind of indicator.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Okay, so let's discuss this first one here, that buy there. And the reason why I said it has elements of divergence when you asked about my trade today is because of this. So now take a look at this very carefully here. Okay, now that my first trade that I did was right there. Okay, now let's talk about this. Notice on the 15-minute chart I'm on right now, what do you see the price doing over here?
Going down at that point that you have the purple line there, it's just broke below, going down. So
Exactly, it's making lower lows, right? It's very simple, it's very visible. What do you think my my indicator is doing?
going down as well.
Going down. Two people agree, there is no conflict in the house, no one's throwing stuff at each other. Perfect, no problem so far. Okay, then the market turns around and he starts to come down almost in the same spot as an exact low. But what do we have that situation if I look exactly down? Do I have those similar tendencies?
No, it doesn't quite go as low. It's actually stopped a bit higher. So now you got a higher low on your indicator.
Yeah, there's a higher low on the indicator. Generally, when you see, this is what we call divergence, okay? There's two sides to divergence. Now, there's multiple terminologies around it. There's a bullish divergence. There's multiple types of divergences. There is the bullish divergence, bearish divergence, hidden divergence. Like there's all kinds of words. I'm trying to keep it simple by saying, if you spot a opposite, something is wrong. Okay? And that generally is an indication that price is going to turn. Okay? And then if we go into the $1 million question is when? Okay, that's something people cannot solve, and because they cannot solve it, they're all over YouTube saying divergence is the best thing, but I don't know how to use it. But it's actually very powerful. It's actually very powerful. Yeah. Okay? All right, so let's now take a look at this. So let's now take a look at this on the 3 minutes. Okay, so I'm watching this area. I spot the divergence. The markets are starting to turn. Okay, now I didn't get in on these prices at all. That was the early indication of divergence. I didn't get onto that price. In fact, by the time I got into the office, prices were up in this area.
Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna now take you down to the 3 minutes. Okay, here we go. Here we are on the 3 minutes. Okay, now I got in on my first, where'd it go? Here. On my first pullback is exactly there where I got my buy. Now, can you use your drawing tools and tell me if you notice anything?
On the indicator or on the chart, or where were you?
On both. Like, see if you can draw something on the price and see if you can draw something on the MACD.
I see from right here to here, you're going up.
Okay,
and
good.
then at this point on the indicator, you're kind of, whoops,
Yeah, that's good.
kind of slightly going down. there.
Slightly going down. There's an opposite, right? Now, I'm
Yeah.
already aware that I'm in this divergent story from the 15 minutes. It's already taken over, right? It's already started the movement. And I'm here saying, okay, that's it. I'm going to do the buy from there. The buy performs. I wasn't able to extract any money off of this thing, as you saw. Wasn't able to extract any money off of this thing. And then it came down and stopped me out. But I was not scared of the stop out, and I still got onto the buy. Can you spot anything further?
I guess you could say if I was to draw this again from the next point, sorry for the bad drawing, but it's still, you still have some divergence going on from that point to, like, it's still not matching up at that point, even when you got in this.
But here's the thing. Wouldn't you say this almost looks slightly lower low, right? And then the price is doing the same thing. It looks slightly lower low.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
If we do it the other way, it's saying, well, this one and that one, this low became lower after he went up and tried all of his stuff, right? So after the swing up, he made a low. Well, same thing. After the movement up, he made a low. So price and indicators are not saying anything opposite. Okay? They're not saying anything opposite. So now the question is, why am I still interested in the buys on this? Take a look at this. Overall swing from the 15-minute flow to the overall swing here.
Oh, okay. I wasn't looking at that much data there. Okay.
Yeah, but any questions rising in your mind right now?
Like, where are you supposed to draw? Like when you're looking, I guess, because you could draw points at any point. Like, just for me looking at it, where do you know where to draw your divergent lines, like, properly?
Correct. So this one is more angled down. This one's more angled up. But then I took it from a much further amount of data. And isn't that going to be confusing if you sit down one day to do this and you're like, I don't see any divergence. It looks lower and this looks lower.
Yeah.
But it looks like, why would you do that? And how do I know if I need to do that also? Right?
Right.
So that you will end up at that point. All of the divergence that can do, it can give you a heads up a turn is coming. Now, why are we looking so closely at this turn? It's because we already spotted the turn on the 15 minutes. Okay, we already spotted the turn happening on the 15 minutes and it was already on its way. Okay, that spot. Now, whenever you draw your divergences, many times it'll look like, yeah, but what about here? That looks like it's a divergence. What about here? That looks like it's a, well, not that one. You see, it's very subjective, right? You feel like that? Like there's no clear-cut answer?
That was one of my main questions. Well, after hearing you, that was one of my main questions. Like how do you, is it determined on your time frame you're on, or how do you determine like exactly where to draw this? So you know, because you could draw it anywhere really. You could make an argument for both sides really. Like
there you go. So at any given point, like it's like the market. At any given point, someone is buying, someone is selling. But even the divergence, someone can read it a different way versus someone can read it a different way. So how do I know exactly what is the correct way to read it? Right. So it's a very good question. All right, let's take a look at this. Divergence also, like most things, falls under context.
Okay.
Okay. I don't know if you've seen some of my other webinars where I always like to use the word, it depends. Like whenever you're doing
Yeah.
something, the answer is always, it depends where it's at and what it's doing. Okay. You can't
Right.
just blindly follow something because it won't work like that. Okay.
Yeah.
So in this particular case, look at the story that it's been coming from. Would you say this is a downtrend?
Yeah, slightly, yeah, but it is going down.
It is going down, right? So now what does a downtrend normally do? Let's go into super basics. What's a downtrend?
Lower lows and lower highs, generally
Lower lows,
speaking.
lower highs. So do we have a, from this lowest point, do we have a lower low?
Yeah.
From this highest point, do we have a lower high?
Yep.
Okay, so far so good. Very basic stuff. What do we know about a trend that's even further than lower low, lower high? What more information do we know about trends? What about the support resistance?
Trends usually they move a lot farther, and they generally will stop and bounce off support and resistance areas. Like they won't come
There you
in
go.
any deeper.
There you go. So if this is a trend down, then the trend is supposed to respect an SNR. But he doesn't respect an SNR. He goes up, still making a lower high, and then it goes down again. What is this turning into?
Oh, it's turning into a channel, basically.
A channel.
And then it's kind of slowly turning into a range, and then now it's putting in a higher low and everything. So
okay, so a downtrend,
possibly.
initially it started as a downtrend. It was respecting SNRs, and then it didn't. Then it turned into a channel, and then the channel turned into a range. Do you see the rhythm? If you were to draw like a little snake on this, it's like he's going down strong, slows down, and going sideways now. And then a divergence shows up, and the market for the very first time goes up.
Okay, yeah.
That context is telling me this divergence is for real. I want to stay with the buy flow as much as I can. So I'm not looking at this dot. I'm looking at in context of where is my divergence coming from. In the story, in the big picture of this whole chart that I'm looking in front of my eyes, where is it coming from?
So it's like you got to get a feel of what overall is happening just from how price is reacting, and then from there, further confirmation could be divergence.
Correct.
Added.
Yeah. Let me ask you this question in this way. Okay. Let's say you're out on a date, right? Let's say you're out on a date. Please don't tell your wife I said this. Let's say you're out on a date. And on this date, this is before you got married, okay? This is before you got married. So on your date, you take this lady to a nice fancy place, you order some food, and she's cringing a little bit. You can see her face. She's like, I'm happy to be here. And then the moment the food arrives, then you order dessert, and then she's feeling very uncomfortable. You are seeing signs of something is wrong until you ask the question, hey, is anything wrong? You've now opened up that door for her to actually say, yes, there's something wrong. That's basically what a divergence is. If you're looking at a divergence just in terms of decoration, that's telling you it's going to do something, find out why should it do something. It started off nice, then it started to die out. And after dying out, when the divergence showed up, you can trust the divergence. You can believe in it that, yeah, actually that makes sense. The divergence can work.
Because you're not just basing it off of just a line, basically.
Yes. Perfect. You cannot just draw a line and just say, okay, last time it worked perfectly, maybe this time again.
Yeah.
There's no context.
That's why you get the inconsistency, because sometimes when you draw that line, it does work because you happen to not luck out, but you know what I mean? Like it happens to line up, and sometimes it doesn't. That's why it's kind of hit and miss when you don't.
There you go.
More to.
There you go. Yeah. How many of you guys who are in this room right now actually have exposure of the divergence is all messy sometimes? Sometimes it works super perfectly. Sometimes it's like, oh man, I'm off by 10 candles and then it works. Yeah, look at that. Like everyone's saying yes, right? So now So that's the issue with divergence. Now let me go into a little bit more in depth a little bit. I think this will help even more.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you aware, Ian, are you aware of I don't know if we've ever trained on this. Are you aware of the overextended or parabolic, or when things go beyond control? I don't know. There's many words that the internet likes to use around it. Are you aware of
Yeah,
stuff?
you've touched on it. I wouldn't say I'm like well versed in it, but I wouldn't mind if you wanted to go over it a little
Okay.
bit. That would
Okay,
be awesome.
let me draw it on the whiteboard again, and I want you to spot this one thing. This is the one thing that I really, really like to do a lot. Okay. Now, when the market starts to go in a specific direction, generally, what do you notice about the movement when it goes in a specific direction? Does it get faster or slower?
Well, generally for most trends will start out slow, then get faster, and then slow down again. Like once the trend is finished doing its move. So
Okay, so I'm going to ask you this one, two sets of questions, and then let's see if you can help me out. When do you notice when things go faster?
generally on the second kind of push, like generally it takes one. From what I've seen anyway, it'll make one decent push, but then usually the next push is typically larger than the first one. And then
Okay, so I'll explain. So when you see movements that get faster and faster every time, that's because you're changing the market direction. Okay, when you're changing the market direction from a down back to an up, the speed picks up dramatically. However,
okay.
during a pullback, what's your speed supposed to be like?
Oh, you want it to be slow, like
Pretty
in
slow.
comparison to push up anyway.
Okay, now having that said, when your speed is supposed to be slow, now watch very carefully. This movement goes up, then it comes down, then it pulls up 20%, comes down a little bit more, pulls back 70%, and then it does this.
Oh.
Is that normal?
No, I wouldn't say that's normal. No.
That's what we call the market's overextended. For the little seller, for that downtrend guy, it's overextended. Okay, it's gone. If you were to draw something called like Bollinger Bands or something like that, this is now going to be in the overextended territories. Now,
Okay, yeah.
this overextendedness is 9 out of 10 times divergence, period. Because your indicator cannot catch up to it. Your indicator's hugging this guy the whole time. He's hugging that guy. He's like, oh, you and me, we're going to be together forever, because the indicator follows price.
Yeah.
But when it goes out of control, the indicator has not caught up to it.
That makes sense, yeah.
Okay.
So it's a lag. The divergence is almost the lag between
There you
the
go.
two.
And that lag, what happens is people who are greedy and get an emotional response from the market, they jump onto the sells. When in actuality, you will see a divergence telling you something's wrong. We're probably going to flip around. And that's the times where a lot of the larger players are like, come on, come on, come on, got it. And then they hit the buys.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So
Yeah,
you ready
that
for a
makes-
little bit of a quiz?
Sure, I'll give it a go.
I can give it a shot. Okay, so get your markers out. I'm going to ask you a couple of things. All right, so the markets are going up. Then it does this, then that, this, that, this. Okay, would you say this piece would have divergence?
No, I wouldn't say, because it seems to be kind of consistent with the pullback, and it's actually less than the last push.
Good, very good. Then he does this and that, this and that, this, and then it goes crazy again. What about that one? Would that have divergence?
Yeah, it probably would, yeah, because
Okay,
the up move is pretty slow compared to that last push up. So
that last push up. Okay, this is perfect. The answer is yes. This is going to have divergence too, but this one, you do not act on it.
okay, because it follows the story of
Strange,
a
isn't it?
buy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, it follows the story, but this one you don't act on the buy because you know this is normal for the direction of the trend. It's gonna get faster because in the beginning we talked about which one slows down, which one goes faster. The one
Right.
that's going with the flow and turns the market will go faster eventually. So that faster, and then it shows divergence. Anyone who's trying to sell that is in big trouble. Thinking that's a divergence, I'm gonna sell it, I'm gonna sell it. It's the wrong context. It is divergence, it's the wrong context.
But if you would have just thinking outside in my own head here, with that, if that pullback didn't have equal legs, that would be possibly a time where you could use divergence if you got a parabolic move on the pullback coming in, because in context,
Correct.
the overall thing is up.
Yeah. So if the overall's up and he's doing this, it's like normal movements, and then he does that, which is also what people refer to as the spike or whatever. This generally will show up on divergence.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So these things get bought out like crazy by the larger players. And when you see this in the context, you're like, I know my divergence is here. It's telling me something. I got to use it. I got to use it. I got to use it. So you got to use it in terms of where you are in the flow to see, should I use this or should I not use it? Because the goal to trading divergence perfectly is the ability to know when you should not use it. If you can answer that question when you should not use it, actually that's the answer to everything in trading. If you know when not to do what you're learned or what you're trained to do, that is the $1 million answer. Probably $100 million answer, right?
Yeah.
So far so good. Is it all making sense?
Wow, it makes a lot of sense. Yeah, it's awesome. Great.
All right, cool. So now, putting all of that stuff into context, let's go back to the chart. Okay, here we go. All right. Okay, let me get my chat box out. Sorry, I didn't see that. Okay. All right, so that was my first buy. As it came lower, I'm aware that the context of divergence is still on. Normally what happens is when people see divergence, they say, yeah, but I thought this was divergence. I tried it and then I failed. So I don't know if it's going to work again. I thought this was my divergence. I tried it. I failed. I don't know if it's going to work again. But it's telling you the momentum on the indicator is not registering. It's not registering. So let me take you now to the 3 minutes and show you something really cool. Okay. Do you notice this piece right here? There's a move down, pulls back, moves down again, pulls back to support equals resistance as a trend should. Then he makes a lower low. Where is that lower low, this little piece that made a lower low on the indicator? He cannot keep up. Okay, in terms of timing, to get it absolutely perfect, it shows you in that area, he cannot keep up. In that whole phase of, if I put my line exactly there, it looks higher on the indicator. But on the price, things are lower.
Right, yeah.
Right? Price is lower.
Yeah, because that came so fast. It came so fast down.
Exactly. And where did it happen, the fast part? Did it happen early on or later on?
Later on.
Later on. There you go. There you go. That in the context of which direction are we trying to go anyways?
Well, we're trying to go up.
And why we're trying to go up? There was all this kind of excitement of, yeah, I'm going to go on this date with this beautiful girl and everything's going to be great. And then you take her on to this restaurant and then you start seeing her making faces and you're like, something's wrong. I just don't know yet. And then you notice more like, that's weird. Okay. I guess she doesn't like this restaurant. Maybe she's a vegetarian. Maybe she only eats cows, imported and flown in from Brazil. I don't know. But then you ask the question of, hey, what's wrong? And then it goes out of control. Yeah, because now there's conflict.
Yeah.
Sorry?
I say the floodgates go and she pours her heart out onto you and then tells you everything that you didn't want to hear that night. So, yeah.
Yeah. So now I'm sure anyone who's in this room watching this, next time they're on a date and it's not going well, they're going to be like, you know what's happening between you and me? Divergence. That's what's happening. Divergence, baby. so so now you know. Now you know. It's actually, you don't need to memorize it in terms of a pattern. You only need to know what does it represent. Okay? Like all indicators, I hate the terminology. I hate if this happens, you immediately do this. Any mentor telling you to do that, Ian, you have my permission to shoot him. But please don't shoot him. I can go to jail. Don't do that. But I'm telling you as a word reference that anyone who's telling you exactly what to do is an YouTube criminal, basically.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's definitely not a,
Sorry?
yeah, it's definitely not a fixed thing. It's not rigid, like it's like you have to kind of like,
Yeah.
nothing's just, this is what it is and it's always like that. It just, that's
Correct. Now, let me show you one more thing. Okay, here's a little quiz now. Can you tell me from the upper end now, when the market started to go up, he pulls back, and then he goes up even faster? Is there divergence?
Yeah, definitely there's divergence.
There's divergence there. But let me show you my, do you see me doing any sells from here?
If I'm reading our triangles right, no, I don't think so.
No, I have a blue triangle. In fact, I'm buying it.
Right. Because in
fact,
context, it's still a buy. So
yeah, there you go. So the context, even though a divergence shows up in here, we know the story and the context of the whole thing. It's for the buy side, not for the sell side.
yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it's only if the context is telling you this thing should turn around and then a divergence shows up, go for it, man, go for it. You got my permission, go for it.
Yeah.
But if it's not telling you it should turn around, then these are all still for buying. They're not done yet. Okay, so I'm sure you already know what this trade is, the one I'm doing for a buy right now. It's a cheese. It's mastering price action 2.0 stuff that we learned, right? The easiest trade ever. It's a cheese.
Yeah.
Right? How many of you guys in here are mastering price action 2.0 students at Urban Forex? Yeah. Oh, there's a ton of you guys in here. Oh, okay. Well, that's a lot more than I expected. But this is a cheese trade. Okay. It's a cheese trade, right? It's fairly simple. It's the easiest trades to catch in the market, and they're straightforward. Okay. All right. So far, so good, Ian. Any questions so far?
I mean, at some point before the end, I'd love if you had like any specific, well, I'm sure I'd like to know, and everyone here, like if you had any specific system or like trading strategy or
like a divergence trading strategy.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. Cause that's, something that just, you could kind of say, okay, I can come to my charts and look at it and let's see if I can use divergence properly, and
okay. And that's a fair question to ask. Just because I no longer use divergence because I can visually see it. Have you ever seen MACD on my charts whenever you look at my screen?
No,
No.
I don't really see many indicators at all.
Yeah.
On your chart.
So I know where a divergence occurs. It's just because I studied it like for years and years and years, and then until I became, I feel I have a good understanding of it, that I don't need it anymore. I don't need to plot that indicator because I know where they happen.
Yeah.
Okay. But now the whole thing is context. So for you to do a strategy or like a divergence trading system, if you want to put it that way, to do it well, you actually need to understand the context first. So let's get into that a little bit. Okay. We're going to build the strategy ground up. Yeah. Any of you guys here want a strategy like that, like a divergence trading strategy? Yeah. Okay. All right. So let's go deep into it. Let's talk about it. Let me open up the whiteboard here a little bit. Okay. Circle?
Yep.
Yep. Okay, cool. All right, let's get started. Okay, now the markets are going sideways. Okay, the markets are going sideways, and then it goes up, 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 and then it goes crazy. Do you think divergence will show up?
There'll be divergence there, I think. Yeah.
There will be. There will be. It's divergence generally shows up based on speed. If the speed is too fast, the indicator cannot keep up. Now, what do we all know about speed when it comes to Forex markets? If there is a range like this, and then suddenly a speed like that comes in, let me hear it. What does the public do?
Buy, or panic.
Buy.
It depends what you're on, what side you're on. If you're trying to, yeah, it depends what side you're on, but it causes panic of some sort. So.
Right? It's like you're suddenly sitting there and you're just chilling, and then a cockroach walks by. You know, you're going to freak out. Well, I will freak out. But you're going to panic. You're going to jump and be like, whoa, I need to do something. I need to do something. Right? That's what happens. So people react to that, and that momentum that creates, you need to judge that and be like, is this for real or is this fake? If this is fake, trust the divergence, find a spot to get in, and you go in. Right now, I'm not telling you exactly how to get in. I'll get into that in a little bit. Okay. But right now is you need to be that father when the kid tells you a story, and you need to be sitting there like, I want to trust him. I want to give him the benefit of the doubt, but something tells me he always lies to me and he comes up with a weird story. Right? You got to be that dad that has to judge the situation of what does this mean? Okay? And don't feel bad about judging. We need to judge a lot in trading. A lot. Okay? So what that means, sorry, my monitor is, okay. Some people are saying, I'm not a dad right now. How can I judge it? No, don't worry. Just judge. You don't need to be a dad to judge. All right. So here we go. Now let's take a look at this situation. Okay. I'm going to give you a practice. You're going to tell me if that's a yes or if that's a no. Okay. Right now, you already know what a divergence looks like, or if it's going to show up or not. Yeah. Right. You already know that because it comes with speed. Right? All right. Markets are going up. Starts to pull back. Starts to pull back. Starts to go sideways. Then it does this. Divergence?
More than likely, there will be.
Yes. Yeah. But do you trust it? Are you going to hit the sells on it?
No, I wouldn't. No.
Why not? Why not?
For a few reasons, but I mean, your overall flow is up. So,
good.
I mean, I wouldn't want to try and sell against all that, especially way up there in context of how high up it is too.
Yeah.
As far as, yeah.
It's this date is not going so well. That's what it is. Yeah. Right? So, even though it's telling you a divergence, which means a sell should come in, it might be temporary. It might be temporary. Okay. All right. Let me switch the story around a little bit. Then he does this. Sorry. Let me make it fun. How about now? Divergence?
Yeah, more than likely, yeah.
This one would be a no. It's too soon. A divergence can only come if there was a slowdown and then a pickup in speed. That slowdown makes your indicators follow that first, and then this is too fast for the indicator to follow suddenly. So if you have a moving average, if you have an uptrend like this, how would your moving average look?
Kind of just steadily going up.
Yeah, steady going up, right? But then what if it does this suddenly? How would your moving average look?
It would start to slowly flatten out a little bit.
There you go. And then it'll become flat. Yeah. But if it does that suddenly, your moving average will do this.
Yeah.
It's too slow to keep up.
Right.
But it's going with the same direction. If it's the opposite direction, something is wrong.
Mm.
Okay, the momentum is not registering. Okay.
Wow, that's cool. That makes sense. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So now let's switch stuff around a little bit. And then let's say the sellers are now working their way down. They're working their way down. They're working their way down. And it starts to do that. Any divergence?
No, probably not. Not yet.
Now?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So this, now many people will even jump onto the buys right here thinking, let's go, let's go, let's go. And that's okay. Sometimes it does that. You don't always get a divergence in every single movement. But then this will show up on your radar and then you can judge it based on, is this still up alive? Is it still on? And then if yes, this should start to jump up. Okay, so far so good. You're now able to identify the divergences, right? Everyone's okay with that? Yeah, Ian, all good?
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Now let's get into the accuracy part. The accuracy part. Now, you told me earlier when I asked you this question of when do you know when things go faster and when do you know when things go slower? Okay, so what was the short answer for that?
Just when the size of the move compared to the last, like, as
Yeah,
basically comparing one to the previous and how
Yeah.
far it went compared to the last. So,
okay. So these are the differences, right? So if you're going with the flow of the main trend and then you're pulling back, you can pick up the speed. Okay, you're
Yeah.
going with the flow. But if you're in an uptrend and you're pulling back, that movement down should generally start slowing down,
not speeding up.
not speeding
Right.
up. If it speeds
Yeah.
up, you're like, yeah, that's actually what I want. That's good.
Yeah. Okay.
So far, so good?
Yeah.
Okay, so in this pullback one, whenever you get this, bam, and you're like, that's a divergence. But how about now? Hold on. Is that a divergence?
No, I mean, it doesn't look a lot different than the last move down. So,
Yeah. So
I mean, it's
so now-
steeper. It's steeper though, I guess. Like,
It's-
so.
yeah. Good. So the angle also makes a difference. So if
Yeah.
it's steeper and you're like, okay, I'm sure that's a divergence, and you look at your chart and you're like, yeah, that is a divergence. But now you're like, that means I should buy. And then the next candle does this. Well, it's still a divergence. And then the next candle does this. So isn't the $1 million question, yeah, but how do you buy a divergence? How do you know when to buy it?
When? Yeah, I think when is the real question, because you know that, well, you don't know, but like you can. It's pretty safe to assume that the buy is going to continue at some point, but when to get in is the golden
Okay.
key.
I want you to remember the W format. Okay? The W format, which means once this happens, you need a strong rejection away from it first.
Okay.
Okay? This is the initial part of the W. Then you need a slowdown that tells you, here we go. This is it.
Okay.
And as that rolls over is where you're saying, that's it. There we go. So the first part of the W needs to be as tight amongst each other. They cannot be far apart. They need to be as tight as possible. That tells
Like,
you
like it comes up right away. Like it doesn't. You need that first move.
Preferably, it's either like, let's say this is the down move. He can take one candle and then he comes up, but he's only up 50%. It's not the 50% I'm concerned about. It's not the 100% I'm concerned about. It's how fast does he come up is what I'm concerned about.
Showing signs of life, like there's something
Yes.
there. Basically, yeah.
That means the fight has begun at that date.
Yeah.
It's the initial fight at that date. It's like, oh my God, they're going at it. It's
So
the
that's where I ask her if anything's wrong that night. Basically.
Yeah, it's like, is anything
Okay.
wrong? No,
Yeah.
not really. I think everything's okay. Are you sure? No, actually, I wanted to say something. That's the W.
Okay.
That's the W. Okay, makes sense?
Yeah. W for wedding too. Then is
W
that
for
kind of how
wedding.
it
Like
works?
it's either a wedding or what wedding, you know, like it depends on how the the conversation goes. All right. So far so good?
Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah.
Okay. Let's
But then
take
but then with that, but then you're basically seeing the divergence come in from that big move, and then
yeah.
once you see that, then you can watch price and see how it reacts after that. But you're using that divergence that came in basically from that last strong move, then basically, and then reading price from there and saying, okay, now is a good time to possibly get in. Is that kind of
Yeah.
how you
Yeah.
would? Okay.
Yeah, generally that's what I'm trying to do at all times whenever I spot a divergence. Like, so let's see if we can find some examples here. So let me go into like Euro USD and let's pick a whole different pair. Let's do pound New Zealand, for example. Okay, let me clean up all this. All right. Is there anything that you see that sticks out as divergence to you here? There's one thing I see. I just want to know if you see anything. Maybe I should make, I gave away a hint.
I see one thing at the end there of the chart that could possibly be turning into divergence.
Yeah, try it, try it.
Like from here, like here it looks like, but here it looks like it's going up there, so it could possibly be a bit of forming. It's
Good.
not formed yet.
Good. So there's that. The one I was looking at that caught my eye was, well, this thing started to come down, right? But that thing started to go up. One of the things you want to notice a lot is during the divergence, does your indicator go into an oversold, overbought area also? Those ones are really nice. If you want to filter it a little bit more, it's like, does it go into an oversold or overbought area? So now that it's over there, it's telling you it's gonna turn. Now, if you buy it here, it's gonna go down a little bit. Then it looks like it's working. That's a stop loss, and then it goes up. How do you feel?
Good.
Okay, but after a stop loss?
Oh no, not after a stop loss. I don't feel
not after a stop loss, right? So the question comes is do I know I need to buy that? But he has that W functionality. Okay, as he was coming down, making the whole thing. Do you see this moving away sharply?
Not really, no.
This one moving away sharply?
No.
How about that one?
There it does. Right at that point, it finally goes up fast.
Yeah, that initiates the whole thing. But should you even be doing this divergence?
Not really, because you're looking for a buy and you're really in an overall, the flow is overall down. So.
There you go. There you go. So it's a no-go, even though that there is a divergence. Okay. Let's switch it up a little bit. Let's go into, let's say, pound dollar. Okay. Let me remove my lines. Okay. What do you see here?
Right. Let's just get the drawing tool. Oops. Let's say there's something right there.
Good.
And right there as well.
Good. What's the state of the market? Is it
kind
not
of,
trend?
I guess it's been down. It's kind of all over the place, but recently it's been going down at the point the divergence comes in. So.
Correct. So that divergence has kicked in here and you're starting to investigate, well, what is here? Why should it turn from here? It's not because there's a divergence, it should turn. Why? Okay, let's go up to the 15 just to give you a quick glance. I can see it here that the flow is not going anywhere. Right? So let me go into the 15. Oh, look at that. Look at that spot where it's at, that question mark.
Support, yeah.
Support from a overall uptrend sitting at the bottom of a range. As per technical analysis, what are we supposed to do at the bottom of a range?
Buy.
the logic there says that one is good. That one
It's
is
just
good.
an extra indication that your buy could work. Then you can use it that way.
There
I
you go.
guess,
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And why does let me go down again, sorry. Why does the speed pick up? Look at this. It was already fast before, so you're not getting such powerful divergences here. But once this slowdown happens, which means everyone's trying to think, oh, that's the buy from the bottom of the range. That's the buy, but it's taking so long. And then it shocks them by going down. How many people do you think will turn into a seller?
a lot, because you're even looking like you're breaking below there at the same time. So there's many factors that would, especially on the 3 minute, because you don't know what's going on above you. So
yeah, and that's the spot where the larger players step in saying, it's for me. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
No, that's cool. That's almost another tool that you can use, like added confirmation, you can build a strategy around, and just as long as you know the story, you can pick out which divergences work and which ones don't. So
yeah, absolutely. And these things happen all over the place. You just need the context correct. If your context is wrong, then you're going to be sitting there thinking, why didn't this divergence work? I always see everyone on YouTube posting divergences that work, but why didn't this one work? And you'll just be scratching your head of like, why is it so horrible? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, don't underestimate divergence. It's very powerful because it is not an indicator technique. It is actually a psychological reading. Somehow it's a psychological reading. It is not an indicator that is just price reading. You see, that's price reading. This happens to be a psychology reading of, I bet you someone got on the wrong side. Therefore, a divergence.
So it brings back to that panic. It's almost like a panic indicator. Knowing like,
yeah,
I bet you some people got overexcited and sold there. So
yeah. So let me ask this question then to clear all this up. If you had to move down and down and down, and then it did this, and then you're getting a divergence in that, but on the indicator you're getting a divergence. Is that a divergence?
Not if you're looking for a buy for overall down, then not really. Like
yeah, that's one thing you really have to know. That's one thing you really have to be strong about is when you see stuff like this happening and a divergence is happening, just know that there's no one stuck. No one jumped on the wrong side. That's not a divergence I want to follow. I want to follow divergence only that cause the markets to go in the wrong direction. That I can feel that if I didn't know, I would also be selling this thing out of like, oh my God, it's leaving. FOMO, FOMO, FOMO. Sell, 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 sell.
Almost put yourself in the shoes of the people that went in, think kind of like, how would I be feeling right now if I jumped on those sells and like, man, if price could just come back to that area, I'll like exit my order right now. So
absolutely. Nathan, can you stop spamming, please? Yeah, the videos are going to be on YouTube. Don't worry. Okay. So far, so good. Everything makes sense.
Yeah, it's really great.
So the whole point of all this thing is context. If you don't have context, nothing in trading will ever make sense because why should it? Why should it? It's always context. But the thing is, the entire industry is focusing so much on trying to learn what should I do? What should I do? But they never understand why should I do this here? What happened to the other guy? If you don't think in that language, then any technique, any strategy you use, it will be perfect one day, not perfect the next day. And that's why people hop, right?
More gambling-ish like that way when you're just basically you're hoping it's going to work this time and then sometimes right, sometimes you're wrong. So.
Yeah, exactly. Like when you started, Ian, how many techniques or strategies did you hop before you?
I don't know. I can't even count, honestly. So it was.
But forget the count. What about the reason behind it?
Oh, there is basically there's not a lot of. I don't want to say every technique's bad, but like a lot of them it's just your pattern or a candlestick pattern, or you just there's no reason behind any of it. It's just kind of, and that was one part that I found frustrating, I guess, and why I enjoyed learning from you, because you put an actual like reason behind everything, so it made sense. Why am I doing this? So
right.
Whereas a lot of things don't have that explanation.
Right. It's the same question when they asked me back in the days, like, Naveen, why do you go to work? To make money. What are you going to do with that money? I'm going to buy a nice car. Nice car to do what? Well, to go to work. And then what are you going to do with when you have a nice car? I might get a promotion and this, and I'll work harder. And what are you going to do with the promotion? I'll buy a house. Where are you going to buy your house? Closer to work. I used to sit there. I'm like, I don't understand what I'm doing. I'm so lost. I'm in this cycle that makes no sense. And then when I quit all that and I got into Forex, I was in that same cycle. I didn't know why I was doing what I was doing. I just kept doing it because somebody told me to do it.
Yeah.
And that's where the biggest flaw is in trading, is if you don't know what you're doing and why you're doing that, it's over.
Yeah, the why that's what I've learned the most. The why behind it's like probably the most important thing I've picked up, so knowing.
Yeah, absolutely. All of you guys, right? Yeah. No, I agree. Absolutely. I'll leave you guys in this room. Do you guys agree with this? Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. If you don't know what you're doing, it's just a waste of time. It's just a waste of time because you're going to hop from one technique to the next because the last technique didn't work the next time. Then you do this new technique. You'll do this for 1 or 2 days or 3 days until you have a big loss. Well, that doesn't work also. Let me try a next one. It's just one after the other. Yeah.
I think I found it gave me more confidence too with my trading in general, knowing the why, because it's like when you just use those patterns and think you didn't know, you're basically crossing your finger, like hypothetically, like when you get in, but knowing the why, it's like, it gives you a sense of confidence getting into a trade, because you're like, this should work. And if it doesn't do this, then obviously I was wrong, but it gives you that confidence to
absolutely
trade bigger
and I guess the final point that I want to make behind that is, let me ask a straightforward question, for you, Ian, and all of you guys who are here. What's the objective of trading? What's the real objective of trading?
I mean, for me, it was lots of reasons. The objective is to make money, right?
It's to make money, right? And everyone seems to say make money, and some are saying freedom, but it seems to be that. I want to ask one question. Do you guys all want to make $10,000 a year by trading and saying, I can trade? Yeah, that's me. 10 grand a year, baby. What's the end goal? It's that grip in your hand that I can take from the market based on how good I am, right? So having that said, the only objective you will see a real trader or anyone on Wall Street is how big do you trade. If you have a mentor that's trading one micro lot, one mini lot, run, run. Because he himself or herself does not have confidence to trade and trust his analysis and get behind it 100% and trade with size. A size that will scare the shit out of people. Yeah. Can you take a hit of 10 grand today? Yes, I can, because I know what I'm doing. That's a whole different mindset. But if you're guessing and switching strategies, you will never be able to even reach one standard lot, right? It's too scary.
Yeah, because you can come back the next day and like, that's okay. I made a mistake today. I'm going to come back and make 20 or 30 tomorrow, so it doesn't matter, right? So.
Yeah. So the whole focus is, do you understand price action in a whole? If you don't understand price action in a whole, then everything is just a gamble. If you understand why the markets are working the way they're working and where there's buyers, where there's sellers, then life becomes a lot more lucrative. All right. Did I answer a lot of your questions? Sorry, I felt like I just took over, and I hope I answered all of your questions.
No, you answered everything. It was awesome. I really appreciate that you even let me come on here to kind of kill two birds with one stone, like showing everybody here the same thing that I was wanting to know anyway. So it like worked out really nice. So I appreciate it. So. Absolutely.
Hey, can I ask all of you guys who are in this room as well? Do you guys actually like it like this? I normally train Ian personally, but if you guys like it like this, I'm happy to train him live like this so you guys can learn together with him, because, because he's a colleague, I'm not going to hold back. I will go all out and train him everything he needs to know perfectly. And if you guys want to look over our shoulder and see what we're doing, then I'm happy to share that like that. Yeah. All right, cool. Any final questions, Ian, on your end then?
No, I think you tackled all of them. Actually, I did it all, managed to get them all in the hour, so that's great.
All right, perfect. Yeah, that was the goal. All right, thank you all for coming. Those of you guys who are students at the Urban Forex Measuring Price Section 2.0, I'll see you in the courses or the next scheduled private webinar. All right, thanks, Ian, for doing this. I really appreciate it.
Awesome.
And I'll see you guys next time.
Again.
Cheers, guys.
Everybody.
Bye. Bye for now.